But back then, well, he had feared the slightest rustle of sound. He hadn't had the confidence he had now, hadn't mastered his craft, so to say. Now, he had been a good student, the best student, and he was smart enough to utilize all that he had learned, including the fact that he must not make mistakes, that mistakes and obsession could lead to behavior that wasn't the most calculated and smart. And now, he had such a dream, such an agenda. Maybe he'd always coveted the idea of being king of the Rippers. 3 stunning young women were walking by his table, laughing, chatting about coming to Europe to find a prince. He pretended to look at his watch, as if he were waiting for someone. And as they came nearer, he started to rise, almost knocking into one of them. "Oh, I'm ever so bloody sorry," he said. No, it's all right," the closest girl in the trio said, smiling. She was an attractive blonde, perfectly configured, with wickedly long legs, generous breasts, and, best of all, a trusting smile. "Sorry, me mate just had to stand me up, and I'd figured—" He paused, shrugging and indicating the table where he'd been seated. "Well, unless you'd like to join me." 3 might be a challenge, but... "Sorry, I'm Brad Terry, and this," he paused again, indicating the environs of Brixton. "This is my home ground, if I can give you any pointers. You are American?" "We are. Straight out of Kansas," the blonde said. "I'm Shelley McNamara, and these are my friends, Ginger Cannon and Tess Garcia." "Nice to meet you. And thank you," one of her friends, the brunette introduced as Ginger, said. She glanced at the blonde, Shelley, and said, "We'll leave you to get pointers for us. Tess and I will try the place right across the street if you want to join us." Ripper smiled. He'd listened and watched enough to know that Shelley McNamara's friends were giving her leeway to flirt with him and decide if she wanted a bit of a British fling or not. They were leaving her alone, but offering her a safety net. Pity for her and them that it wouldn't be enough. The 2 friends waved and started off. Ripper looked at the young woman, Shelley, and gave her his most innocent, charming smile. "What will you have?" he asked her. Whatever it was, she'd have more. So much more. As she sat down, smiling, eager, and adventurous, he thought that his night was going to go beautifully. Yes, the king was dead, incarcerated. But then again, long live the king. 1. Della Hamilton looked out the window as they drove from Heathrow Airport to the center of London, Detective Edmund Taylor driving, and her partner, Mason Carter, seated behind her. She took a moment to close her eyes and imagined that they were there for a fun vacation, to enjoy the sights. She loved the city of London. A history buff, she'd been fascinated as a teenager to visit with her parents, to roam the halls of the Tower of London and ride over London Bridge, visit the remaining Roman sites, stare at the legendary Big Ben, and marvel at the beauty and the stories to be discovered within the hallowed ground of Westminster Cathedral. She hadn't been back since she'd been a college student, and on that trip, she'd revisited a few of her favorite historic sites, but she'd also spent time in Chelsea, Covent Gardens, and other areas for the nightlife and fun with friends. Now she was Special Agent Della Hamilton, and part of a unique unit within the FBI. She and Mason had been assigned to a new assistance force, and thus they headed to Europe when the need arose. They had started out on a case in which a killer had skipped from country to country, his method of killing unique. They'd been able to trick him into being captured when he'd returned to the United States, and through his taunting, they had learned that he had more followers doing some of the killings attributed to him than they had previously expected. And so now, London, a city of over 8 million people, busy with their day-to-day lives, most good citizens.